Do you believe that after 60, 70 years old, your capacity to feel pleasure, intimacy, and physical connection simply disappears? That your body entered a permanent shutdown mode and there's nothing left to do? What if I told you that's a lie society made you believe? And thousands of men have already proven otherwise, recovering sensations they thought were lost forever? In this video, you'll discover the scientific protocol that's restoring intimate vitality to men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, without miracle drugs or expensive procedures. These are neurobiology-based techniques that reconnect your body to its natural capacity to feel pleasure. If you're tired of frustration, of feeling like you've lost something essential about yourself, and want to recover not just physical function, but the sensation of being truly alive, then every second of this video could change your life. Listen carefully, because what I'm about to share might challenge everything you've been told about growing older. There's a quiet epidemic happening right now. Millions of mature adults are walking around believing a lie, that their bodies have permanently shut down certain capabilities, that intimacy, pleasure, and physical vitality are reserved exclusively for the young, that once you cross a certain age threshold, you should gracefully accept numbness, disconnection, and resignation. But here's what nobody talks about. Your body didn't get the memo. Dr. Charles Bennett has spent 30 years as a urologist specializing in masculine sexual health for older adults. His practice in Northern California has become a haven for men who refuse to believe the narrative society feeds them. Men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s who sensed something deeper, that maybe, just maybe, the story doesn't end where everyone says it does. I remember my first week of residency, Dr. Bennett recalls. An attending physician told me that treating sexual dysfunction in elderly patients was basically pointless. Manage their expectations, he said. Help them accept reality. I found that perspective profoundly disturbing, and thankfully, I ignored it completely. What Dr. Bennett discovered through 3 decades of clinical practice contradicts conventional medical wisdom. The human body possesses remarkable adaptive capabilities that most physicians overlook entirely. Neural pathways can reorganize. Vascular function can improve. Sensitivity can return, not through aggressive pharmaceutical intervention or expensive procedures, but through something far more fundamental: relearning how to listen. Think about how you learned to walk as a child. Nobody handed you an instruction manual. Your body figured it out through experimentation, failure, adjustment, and eventually, mastery. Your intimate nervous system operates similarly. It can relearn, recalibrate, and rediscover responsiveness, but only if you create the right conditions. The problem is that most people approach this situation completely backward. They focus on mechanical function. Can this part do that thing? They obsess over performance metrics, comparing current capacity to memories from decades past. They view their bodies as broken machines requiring repair, rather than living systems requiring nurturing. Dr. Bennett worked with a patient named James, 68, who arrived at the clinic deeply depressed. James had tried every medication on the market. He'd purchased devices, supplements, and gadgets, promising miraculous results. Nothing worked, and each failure deepened his despair. "I felt like less than a man," James admitted. "My wife was patient, but I could see the disappointment. Mostly, though, I disappointed myself. I kept thinking, this is it. This is all I have left." Dr. Bennett asked James a simple question. "When's the last time you touched yourself without any goal in mind, just to feel sensation?" James stared blankly. "I don't understand the question." "Exactly," Dr. Bennett replied. "You've spent years trying to force your body to perform. You haven't spent a single moment simply experiencing it. This distinction represents the core breakthrough. You cannot force responsiveness. You cannot demand that blood vessels dilate or nerves fire on command. But you can create an internal environment where those processes occur naturally, organically, without strain. Your autonomic nervous system, the part controlling arousal, circulation, and sensation, operates outside conscious control. It responds to safety, relaxation, and genuine presence. It shuts down under pressure, anxiety, and self-judgment. Understanding this changes everything. Imagine trying to fall asleep by commanding yourself to sleep. The harder you try, the more elusive sleep becomes. But when you create the right conditions, darkness, quiet, comfort, calm thoughts, sleep arrives on its own. Arousal works identically. Chase it, and it retreats. Allow space for it, and it emerges. Dr. Bennett developed what he calls the sensory reawakening protocol. It's not a quick fix. It doesn't promise overnight transformation. But for patients willing to invest consistent effort, the results have been extraordinary. The protocol begins with something most people find counterintuitive: complete disconnection from outcome. For 2 full weeks, participants agree not to pursue any intimate contact with partners or themselves. This might sound like deprivation, but it's actually liberation. You're removing the performance pressure that's been suffocating your nervous system. During these 2 weeks, you practice something called somatic awareness exercises. Twice daily, for 15 minutes each session, you lie in a quiet space and simply scan your body mentally. Start at your toes. Notice any sensation: warmth, coolness, tingling, numbness, tension. Move slowly upward through your feet, ankles, calves, knees. You're not trying to change anything. You're not judging what you find. You're simply observing. This might feel pointless initially, but you're actually rewiring neural pathways. Your brain is remembering how to register sensation instead of numbing it out through stress and anxiety. Many of Dr. Bennett's patients report something surprising during this phase. They realize they've been living almost entirely in their heads. Decades of mental focus, careers, responsibilities, problems have severed the connection between consciousness and physical experience. They've become floating brains, barely inhabiting their bodies at all. "I was shocked," James said, "to discover how little I actually felt. Not just sexually, everything. I ate meals without tasting food. I showered without feeling water. I'd completely dissociated from physical existence." This dissociation isn't unusual. Modern life encourages it. We're rewarded for mental productivity and emotional suppression. Nobody teaches us to stay grounded in physical sensation. By the time we reach mature years, that disconnection has become so habitual, we don't even notice it anymore. The somatic awareness exercises begin reversing this pattern. Slowly, incrementally, you're coming back into your body. You're remembering what it feels like to actually inhabit physical form, rather than just operate it like a vehicle. After those initial 2 weeks, the protocol shifts. Now you introduce something called sensory mapping. This involves systematically exploring your entire body with touch, but with specific guidelines that prevent falling back into goal-oriented behavior. You use various textures: silk, cotton, your own fingertips, a soft brush. You touch every accessible area of your body: arms, legs, torso, face, scalp. You move slowly, deliberately. You notice which areas respond strongly, which feel numb, which trigger emotional reactions. This isn't foreplay, it's research. You're gathering data about your current sensory landscape. No judgments, no comparisons, just information. Dr. Bennett instructs patients to keep a journal during this phase. Not recording what worked or didn't work, but simply noting observations. Left shoulder felt tight. Right forearm tingled when stroked lightly. Abdomen felt vulnerable, almost uncomfortable to touch. Why does this matter? Because you're building a map of your nervous system as it exists right now, not as it was 20 years ago. Not as you wish it were, as it actually is today. Once you understand the current territory, you can navigate it effectively. The third phase introduces what Dr. Bennett calls graduated intimacy. Here you finally begin focusing on traditionally intimate areas, but the approach remains radically different from conventional attempts. Instead of pursuing arousal, you're exploring sensation without attachment to outcome. This distinction might sound subtle, but it's absolutely crucial. Pursuing arousal creates tension. Exploring sensation creates curiosity. Start with areas adjacent to primary intimate zones. For men, this means inner thighs, lower abdomen, the crease where leg meets groin. Use the same slow, attentive touch you practiced during sensory mapping. Notice temperature, texture, responsiveness. Your mind will likely jump ahead. It'll start anticipating, planning, hoping. When this happens, and it will, gently return attention to present sensation. What do you feel right now? Not what might happen, not what you want to happen. Right now. This practice resembles meditation, and the similarity is intentional. Meditation trains attention to remain present, rather than drifting into past or future. Sensory exploration requires identical skills. You're learning to be here, in this moment, in this sensation, fully. Many patients experience frustration during this phase. They've invested weeks in preliminary work, and now that they're finally allowed to focus on intimate areas, they want immediate results. But rushing destroys the entire foundation you've built. Dr. Bennett shares a metaphor. Imagine you're trying to photograph a shy animal in the forest. If you crash through the underbrush making noise, the animal disappears. But if you sit quietly, patiently, eventually it emerges. Your arousal response is that shy animal. Patience draws it out. Gradually, and this might take weeks or even months, you'll notice changes. Perhaps a warm sensation that wasn't there before. Maybe brief moments of pleasant tingling. Possibly increased sensitivity to particular touches or pressures. These aren't failures because they're subtle. They're successes because they're genuine. Each small response indicates that your nervous system is healing. Neural pathways are reconnecting. Blood vessels are responding. The autonomic system is learning to relax into arousal rather than fighting against it. Dr. Bennett emphasizes celebrating these micro-victories. Our culture teaches us to dismiss anything less than dramatic results. But nature works through accumulation of small changes. Seeds don't become trees overnight. Rivers don't carve canyons in a day. Your body rebuilds responsiveness incrementally. Once you've established consistent awareness of pleasant sensation, the protocol enters its fourth phase, integration with movement. Now you combine the sensory awareness you've developed with gentle physical activity. This might mean swaying your hips slowly while touching yourself, rolling your shoulders, arching your back, breathing deeply with intentional rhythm. You're adding kinesthetic awareness to sensory awareness, creating full-body involvement rather than isolated genital focus. Why does movement matter? Because arousal isn't just a local phenomenon. It involves your entire nervous system, circulatory system, and muscular system. Engaging your whole body amplifies the signals your brain receives and sends. Additionally, movement helps discharge anxiety. When you're still and tense, that tension has nowhere to go. But when you incorporate motion, even subtle, gentle motion, you create pathways for stress to release. Dr. Bennett had a patient named Robert, 72, who struggled terribly with this phase. Robert had spent his entire adult life equating masculinity with stoicism. Showing emotion was weakness. Moving sensually felt mortifying. "I felt ridiculous," Robert admitted, "like I was pretending to be something I'm not." Dr. Bennett asked, "What are you pretending to be?" "I don't know. Alive? Present? Connected?" And why would those things be pretense rather than truth? That question shifted everything for Robert. He realized he'd been performing disconnection for so long that it felt more authentic than actual connection. Moving sensually didn't mean pretending. It meant stopping pretending. The fifth phase involves what Dr. Bennett calls sensory amplification through breathwork. You've likely heard about breathing techniques, but most people practice them incorrectly in this context. They treat breath as a tool to achieve arousal, which reintroduces performance pressure. Instead, use breath to deepen awareness of whatever sensation exists. If you feel warmth somewhere, breathe into that warmth. Imagine your breath flowing directly to that spot, intensifying it slightly with each cycle. If you feel tingling, breathe into the tingling. If you feel nothing particular, breathe into that absence without judgment. The breath doesn't create sensation. It illuminates what's already there. This practice trains your nervous system to amplify signals rather than suppress them. Most people have spent decades dampening physical awareness for survival, professionalism, or emotional protection. Now you're teaching your system that it's safe to feel again. Combine breathwork with sound if you're comfortable. Not performative moaning, but organic sighs, hums, or exhalations that match your internal experience. Vocalization stimulates the vagus nerve, which directly influences arousal and relaxation. The sixth phase, which typically begins 2 to 3 months into the protocol, introduces optional partner involvement if you're in a relationship. But even here, the approach differs radically from conventional couples therapy. You don't start by attempting intercourse or any goal-oriented activity. Instead, you practice what Dr. Bennett calls witnessing. Your partner simply observes as you engage in your sensory exploration practice without touching, commenting, or participating. This might sound strange, but it serves a critical purpose. It begins rebuilding intimacy through presence rather than performance. Your partner learns what brings you pleasure now, not what they remember from decades ago. You learn to remain present even with another person watching, which addresses the performance anxiety that often cripples intimate encounters. After several sessions of witnessing, you transition to mirroring. Now your partner replicates the touches, movements, and pacing you demonstrated. You guide them verbally, communicating what feels good without any pressure for escalation. Many couples discover that this process creates more emotional intimacy than they've experienced in years. They're finally seeing each other clearly, presently, honestly, rather than relating through memory, assumption, or habit. Understanding the protocol is one thing. Navigating the inevitable obstacles is another. Dr. Bennett has identified 7 major challenges that derail people most frequently. Challenge 1: catastrophic thinking. Your mind encounters one unresponsive session and immediately generalizes, "This proves nothing will ever work. I'm permanently broken. I've wasted my time." But one session reveals nothing except how your body felt during one particular session on one particular day. Your responsiveness fluctuates based on sleep quality, stress levels, hydration, recent meals, medication timing, emotional state, and dozens of other variables. Dr. Bennett teaches patients to adopt scientist mindset. Scientists don't abandon hypotheses after one experiment. They gather data across multiple trials, noting patterns over time. Approach your body identically. Observe trends across weeks and months, not moments. Challenge 2. Comparison syndrome. You remember how quickly arousal occurred at 30, how intense sensations felt at 40. Current experiences seem pale by comparison, and that comparison breeds disappointment. But you're not 30 or 40 anymore. Your body has changed, and that's not failure, it's biology. Flowers bloom differently in various seasons. They're not worse in autumn than spring, they're different. Your intimate responses follow similar patterns. Additionally, memory lies. Nostalgia paints the past in unrealistically glowing colors while minimizing difficulties. Your younger self likely experienced challenges you've conveniently forgotten. Honor who you are now rather than constantly measuring yourself against idealized memories. Challenge 3. Impatience. You want results immediately. After 2 weeks of practice, you expect dramatic transformation. When it doesn't arrive, frustration threatens to derail everything. But consider, if you had untreated diabetes for 20 years, would you expect 1 month of medication to reverse all damage? If you'd been sedentary for decades, would 2 weeks of exercise restore complete fitness? Of course not. Yet somehow we expect instant sexual healing. Dr. Bennett reminds patients that cellular regeneration, neural pathway reorganization, and vascular improvement all take considerable time. Healing occurs at biological speed, not wishful thinking speed. Trust the process even when visible results lag behind your hopes. Challenge 4. Inconsistency. You practice diligently for 2 weeks, see slight improvement, then skip several weeks because life gets busy. When you return, progress has vanished, and you must start over. Your nervous system requires regular input to establish new patterns. Sporadic practice produces sporadic results. Schedule sessions like medical appointments, non-negotiable time blocks dedicated to your well-being. Many patients resist this, feeling selfish for prioritizing personal pleasure. But maintaining your health, including sexual health, isn't selfish. It's responsible self-care that benefits everyone around you. You can't pour from an empty vessel. Challenge 5. Shame spirals. Cultural messages about aging and sexuality create toxic internal dialogue. You feel embarrassed practicing these techniques. You worry that pursuing pleasure at your age is somehow undignified or inappropriate. This shame serves nobody. It doesn't protect you, it imprisons you. Sexual wellness isn't age-restricted. Desire doesn't carry expiration dates. Seeking connection and pleasure demonstrates self-respect, not selfishness or delusion. When shame surfaces, and it will, acknowledge it without letting it dictate behavior. I notice feeling embarrassed. That's interesting. I'll continue anyway. Shame loses power when you stop fighting it or obeying it. Simply observe it and proceed. Challenge 6. Technique obsession. You become convinced that if you just find the perfect movement, ideal pressure, or magic timing, everything will suddenly work. You start overthinking every detail, which creates the mental tension that prevents arousal. There's no secret technique. The method itself is simple: slow, attentive, judgment-free exploration. What matters isn't perfecting technique, but cultivating presence. Stop trying to unlock a code. Start experiencing what's actually happening. Challenge 7. Catastrophic expectations from setbacks. You have several good sessions, then a terrible one. Instead of viewing this as normal variation, you interpret it as proof that any progress was illusion. But progress isn't linear. It curves, plateaus, even temporarily regresses before advancing significantly. This pattern appears in every biological system. One poor night's sleep doesn't erase months of improved sleep habits. One unresponsive session doesn't negate weeks of increasing sensitivity. Beyond these psychological challenges, practical considerations matter enormously. Physical comfort during practice sessions makes tremendous difference. Invest in quality pillows, comfortable surfaces, appropriate temperature control. Discomfort distracts from sensation. Privacy is essential. Locked doors, turned-off phones, assured solitude. Your nervous system cannot relax into vulnerability when part of your brain stays alert for interruptions. Timing matters too. Some people feel most responsive in morning, others late evening. Experiment to discover your optimal windows. Don't force sessions during exhausted periods or high-stress moments. Consider addressing underlying health factors with medical professionals. Sleep apnea, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, hormonal imbalances, all affect intimate function. The protocol works best when combined with comprehensive health management. Medications often impact sexual responsiveness. Antidepressants, blood pressure drugs, and antihistamines commonly diminish arousal and sensation. Discuss alternatives with your physician if you suspect medication interference. Dr. Bennett emphasizes that this protocol isn't magic. It's applied neurobiology combined with behavioral psychology. You're systematically creating conditions for your nervous system to heal while removing obstacles that prevent healing. The timeline varies dramatically between individuals. Some patients notice significant changes within weeks. Others require months. A few need over a year of consistent practice. None of this indicates the protocol's effectiveness. It indicates individual biological variability. What remains consistent across all successful cases? Patience, compassion toward oneself, and willingness to value the journey rather than fixating on destination. James, the patient from earlier, practices the protocol for 8 months before experiencing what he considered significant arousal. 8 months of twice-weekly sessions with minimal obvious progress. Lesser men might have quit. But something kept me going, James explained. Even when arousal wasn't happening, I was feeling more alive, more present, more connected to my own existence. That seemed valuable regardless of sexual outcomes. Then, during a routine session with no special circumstances, James felt unmistakable arousal. Not fleeting or subtle, genuine, sustained responsiveness. He wept with relief and joy. "The crying surprised me," he said. "I realized I'd been carrying so much grief about my body. Grief I'd never acknowledged. When sensation returned, I wasn't just feeling arousal. I was feeling hope." That's the deeper gift of this work. Yes, you're rebuilding intimate capacity, but simultaneously, you're reclaiming agency over your physical existence. You're refusing narratives that diminish you. You're choosing vitality over resignation. This matters far beyond bedroom activity. When you reconnect with physical pleasure, you strengthen your relationship with being alive. You remember that existence involves sensation, not just thought. You honor the remarkable body that's carried you through decades of experience. Your story isn't finished. Each moment offers opportunity to write new chapters characterized by presence, awareness, and wholehearted engagement with life, including, especially, the intimate dimensions that make existence rich rather than merely functional. Every person deserves this, not because they've earned it through hardship or achievement, but simply because they're alive and embodied. Being alive includes sensation. Sensation includes pleasure. Pleasure includes sexual wellness. At any age, under any circumstance, forever. Start today. Choose presence over numbness. Choose curiosity over resignation. Choose to believe that your body still holds capacity for joy, connection, and vitality. Because it does. It absolutely does. Dr. Charles Bennett has proven this truth across 3 decades and thousands of patients. Your body didn't receive the cultural memo declaring you finished. It's waiting, patient, and ready for you to remember its capabilities. Will you answer that call? The choice, as always, remains yours. But know this: choosing to heal, to reconnect, to pursue wholeness. That choice honors not just your body, but your spirit, your resilience, and your refusal to accept anything less than the full, vibrant life you deserve. Take the first step, then the next, then the one after that. Trust that accumulation of small actions creates profound transformation. Your future self, more present, more alive, more whole, is already thanking you for beginning this journey today. This content provides general educational information only. It does not replace professional medical evaluation or personalized treatment recommendations. If you're experiencing symptoms, concerns, or questions about your health, please consult qualified healthcare specialists who can provide guidance specific to your individual situation and medical history.